little bit dramatic. Let's fix that. Better. Hi, I'm David. You're watching the video version of my email newsletter. I took today's photo in July 2023 in Toronto. I really like how the bright yellow crane really pops against those towers behind it and the gorgeous clouds beyond. Let's get started. First, there's this situation in LA County about rebuilding homes after the major fires. The county has put an accelerated process in place for anyone who wants to recreate the exact same kind of house that burned, typically a single-family wood frame structure built to the IRC, or International Residential Code. That sounds great until you consider that if you want to upgrade to a building that follows the IBC, the International Building Code, which allows for multifamily construction and is also less flammable, you get stuck in the slow lane. This is especially frustrating because multifamily IBC style construction could really help address California's housing shortage, all while reducing fire risk. Instead, the county's fast track effectively rewards building the same old fire-prone single-family units. There's another twist here. The county's rules are running into trouble with state law, specifically SB 330. One YIMBY-adjacent lawyer pointed out that by restricting fast-tracked building to identical, lower standard units, the county may be setting up what he's saying could be an illegal taking. The idea is that this combination of local rebuild restrictions and state law could be viewed as effectively devaluing property or interfering with lawful property use, which isn't allowed under the Constitution. Next up, it looks like the Medicaid payment system was shut down across multiple states. Doctors and hospitals basically stopped getting paid overnight, maybe by mistake, while someone was trying to freeze what they were saying were DEI grants. The White House ended up rolling all that back pretty fast, but it's highlighting the chaos of the Trump administration just flipping switches on and off in the federal government. And here's the kicker. Even though one of the memos behind the freeze was withdrawn, which the Trump administration claimed made the whole thing moot, there's still a legal cloud hanging over it. Several states sued, and at least one judge questioned whether the situation was really resolved. The deeper question is whether the White House can refuse to spend money that Congress has already authorized. Meanwhile, some administration officials seem to have admitted that they pulled the memo just to escape the judge's injunction, not to actually end the funding freeze. So this fight over separation of powers is far from settled. We'll see more litigation before it is. Strangely, when reporting on the Medicaid payment portal shutdown, Wired magazine decided not to publish the names of the top officials at the Office of Personnel Management because those officials are in their early 20s. Wired seems to fundamentally be confusing teenage hijinks with making bad decisions about government agencies that touch the lives of millions. There's also fascinating conversation about why American life expectancy is lower than in Europe. One thing that drags down overall mortality the most is infant mortality, which is much worse in the US. A big part of that, it turns out, might not be the healthcare itself, but factors that happen once the infant leaves the hospital. You see higher infant mortality among normal birth weight babies versus other Western countries. They're doing fine the day they're born, but look at the separation not long after they leave the hospital. What if we look at babies who don't leave the hospital so fast, low birth weight babies? The healthcare wasn't the problem. Going home was the problem. That suggests it's about education, governance, poverty. They're all policy issues, but not strictly healthcare in the hospital. So the next time someone blames U.S. lifespan solely on hospitals or how our insurance works, keep in mind that the strongest lever for change might be improving everyday conditions for people outside of medical care. Next, Kelsey Piper from Vox's Future Perfect went ahead and wrote what I would call a Steelman case for that old memo by James Damore. The write-up is quite long, but I think my biggest takeaway was that Kelsey Piper is calling for a continued commitment to classical liberal principles. She's admonishing us to not be too certain that we are right about things. On a different note, Trump has been talking about slapping tariffs on semiconductors made in Taiwan. That could really disrupt supply chains for American technology. It's a threat that might sound tough for a moment, but Taiwan is a close U.S. ally. This move doesn't make any sense. Plus, Tim Lee argues that there's a good chance it was actually rumors about this tariff announcement rather than DeepSeek that tanked NVIDIA's stock price on Monday. Meanwhile, Waymo is operating on freeways for employee passengers in Los Angeles. That's a big milestone. We've seen driverless car tests on city streets, but freeways are a different beast. Cars are going faster, collisions are much more dangerous, and you can't just stop to wait for a remote operator to rescue the car. Finally, on a different note, Americans are apparently spending a lot on lottery tickets, more than on concerts, books, and sporting events combined. That's the kind of stat that could make you suddenly decide you're in favor of more nanny state interventions. That's it for today. Thanks for watching.